sent one over to Tim.
Okay,
What are
Scott.
we reading here?
Oh, you already
this is
voted.
nice.
Yep, I
This is
voted.
very nice. I know, this is the,
I'm done.
Did you know anybody?
I did. I knew Kathy Lewis. She is great. So there's my
Is
little
she the one
endorsement.
that you went to San Antonio or?
No. Kathy Lewis used to be on 917, and then she didn't win re-election, but then 2 years later, she rejoined the district, and now she's not on 917, but still very kind of person that goes to all the extra things.
Well, since Scott's not coming, should we go ahead and start?
Sure.
Okay, I don't have an agenda. I'm going to computer.
oh.
Okay.
You want that?
Nope, we can share,
We
but
can
I can
share
do the
this
roll,
too.
we can do the roll call. All right, Andy Bertrand,
Here.
Dan Cater,
Here.
Lisa Hadeen,
Here.
Teresa Mose, me,
Hmm.
yes, Vince O'Brien.
Here.
Russ Swallow,
Here.
Superintendent Goals.
Here.
And do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from August 19th?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes passed. How about the bills payable?
I'll motion.
Second.
Any discussion on the bills? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Bills will be paid. And Tim's good news.
Yeah, I just want to share again, whenever we're on air, I didn't invite in Jeff Carlson to share about it, but it's from the Doffing funds. We were so fortunate as a school district to have so many organizations and foundations that have been set up to give back to us as a school. And last year, the Doffing funds gave $9,000 to a new program that they had hoped eventually other businesses might fund a classroom too. So the philosophy is that $1,000 goes to a teacher and the teacher can spend it for resources in their classroom. Last year they targeted elementary schools, and again this year they're going to target elementary schools. So there were 3 teachers at each of the elementary schools that received $1,000, and then they have to purchase the materials from the Adopt a Class program. So it's not like they can go out and buy it from any businesses in the community or Target or Walmart. It has to be from that program. But some really great resources. For last year, they focused on teachers that had been here only 1 or 2 years, because they know that teachers in the beginning don't have those resources. So great program. And this year, with the market being a little bit down, they didn't have as much money to give, but they're giving $6,000 again. And so they'll be announcing that in the next couple of weeks. And probably they'll focus on about 2 again at each elementary. So just a great program and a great resource, and our teachers and our students have benefited from it. So I wanted to take some time to thank the Doffing Fund for giving to our school district once again.
Absolutely.
And then under the superintendent's report, we'll finish with the superintendent goals. I just want to mention, as you know, we've had some electrical problems here at the middle school. Probably internal. Power went off yesterday at around 2:30. Kind of like at home or a circuit breaker, and then you kick it back and it kicks on, so you're like, okay, all is good. I must have overloaded an outlet or something. Excel was here, and there were some electricians here, and they couldn't hunt down the problem, so they just thought, well, who knows, maybe something happened that surged it. Well, this morning at 8:10, again, the power went out. Jim was able to get it back up and running. We do have a backup generator here. It doesn't light the entire building. It provides some lighting. Some of the bathrooms have lighting in it, but really you're relying on whatever light there is. And of course, as you can imagine, in a middle school with this many human beings, and you're not able to kick open the doors or kick open the windows, the fresh air starts to get a little bit stagnant. So the good news was that we were able to get it up and running again. Made a decision tomorrow. They believe that they have a good idea where the problem is, so they're gonna shut down from 2:30 till 3:30. Part of it always for us relies on Excel. Excel will tell us when they're going to come here as well. But again, Mark was now more heavily involved in that decision because he wanted to make sure that we kept school up and running, and yes, it's gonna be an inconvenience to our swim team at 2:30. Yes, it might be an inconvenience to some of our other programs and for our teachers as we stay after. The business office, as you can imagine, at 2:30 when every computer is shut down, what does the business office do? So we've told our business office to come in a little bit earlier tomorrow because they know that we're gonna be shutting down to get their hours in. So again, they believe that, and of course, they're guessing what it is, but they believe that within an hour, they're gonna get it back up and running. So I just wanted to let you know about that. What we do internally then is because kids have texting and everything and the power's out, they're texting their parents potentially right away. We call the radio station. We tell them if they start getting calls, we are not going to close down school. It's just so difficult to try and communicate with parents who wouldn't be expecting it, to send home a 5th grader and the parent isn't looking for that communication on a non-snow day. So we quickly met with April Beckel, we met with Mark, and they said, yep, we'll do lunch, we're not sure yet. April had talked about going up to the high school and cooking extra, and all those things were in the works if we needed it. So I just wanted to touch base that that's where we're at. At 3:45 today, then I bumped into Jim Huberty, and he told me, sorry Jim if you're watching this on TV, but he's always telling me about the problems that we have coming up, and he said that the burglar alarm is probably shot, outdated. We updated our fire alarm, so there might be some other things that we need to update here at the middle school as we're getting into this. And I said, yep, that's fine, we'll deal with that at that time. So I just wanted to give you some of the behind the scenes on what we do in that situation. Target, I just wanted to let you know, you maybe caught it in the news, that Target is no longer funding education per se, and that does have an impact on us. And so again, because we're televised, anybody who's out there listening privately or an organization, our Excel program was heavily funded by Target. Mike took that donation, and because of, as you're well aware now, of how you can spend some monies, et cetera, through the Excel program, Target was very generous. So I just want to mention it to you that that will have an impact on some of our programs. For this year, we might have a partial solution to that because there's another foundation that's given some money, and I've asked them now if that money can go to the Excel program for this year. Don't have an answer back yet, but I think they're going to say, that foundation is going to say yes. So we might have it partially covered for this year. Vision 2025 updates. Some of you maybe have already received some emails. Our next phase now is for the Wellness Committee to meet with their focus group, the Technology Committee to meet with their focus group, the Academic to meet with their focus group. Really, go back and talk about where do we leave off. B, start making a list of what should we communicate on, prioritize them what the group thinks we should communicate on. Select a member from the group who would be a person that would work with a communication team or be the main contact from communication. And then also pick 2 goals for the year that you could put in specific terms. And I used one of the examples of for technology. We could say by April 15th, we are going to create 3 videos that educate parents on cyberbullying, harassment, and how cell phones should be used at school. That might be one of the goals that comes from that committee. So I know that all board members at one time were on one of the committees, so I'm guessing that you'll get an invite if you haven't already. So that is part of now eventually what will become the systematic approach to Vision 2025 is each fall of the year in the month of September, we'll probably start it earlier, in the month of September, meet with your committee. That'll be one of the phase 1, setting the goal for that year, setting the communication for that year. And eventually I'm working on what the rest of that systematic approach will be for Vision 2025. Enrollment, I don't know if Deanna, again, I think I sent this to you as board members, so it's really me not really educating you. Again, it's just constant communication out to the public about where our enrollment is at. And you saw some of these numbers, and Missy updates us on a monthly basis of what our enrollment is doing. And really, again, you focus on the kindergarten. We're at 271. We knew that was coming from in April and May when we saw some of the low numbers. And again, though, when you think about it, having 300 students per grade level, you still can have a very good school system. You still have plenty of opportunities for involvement, plenty of opportunities for activities. I know when we did our budget cuts about a year and a half ago, there was a lot of concern about the declining enrollment, and yes, financially, what it does to your system, but there were parents worried about what impact that would have on programs and offerings and activities. And quite honestly, we still keep most of our activities and programs, and your ability to be involved should be even a higher percentage because there's less students. So again, if you go to the second page of it, as we focus in on our elementary, again, if you can. And I look at, when I look at the breakdown in our elementaries, I look at enrollment differently at an elementary school than I do at a high school or middle school, because in a high school and a middle school here in Hastings, we bring all the students together. So it's a little bit easier to get balance. So whenever I look at the elementary, I'm definitely looking at balance somewhat per site, even though I know that Pinecrest is a larger elementary site. But I'm also looking at, can we keep a 4-section school all the way through? Because that ties into your specialists too. And so far, the kindergarten coming in at JFK, that would be a struggle in 3rd and 4th grade, because as you can imagine, we're not gonna have 4 sections when that kindergarten class gets into 3rd and 4th grade. So that's gonna need the enrollment to kick up a little bit. And or at some point, and I think Lisa caught this drip at a work session or something, at some point, then we as a board might look at boundaries. And we all know how fun that is to try and bring the balance. I'm not anticipating doing that next year, but if we would get another year where Kennedy would have 80 students in kindergarten, then I'd be saying to you as a board, yeah, we're probably gonna have to look to redraw the boundary lines. But again, just for the community's sake, we're in slight decline of enrollment. It does impact our finances, and kindergarten, we'll be looking again closely as we always do. And then I just wanted a discussion of committee members. There were a couple of in-between committees that we don't always, and I don't know if we want to do that now or at the end of the meeting, Vince.
Either way.
Doesn't really matter, I guess. And I had written down, I call it the lunch bunch. It's the board members that meet with the seniors, juniors, sophomores once a month. And we usually have 2 to 3 board members there. And we realize that once in a while a board member won't be able to make it, but we try to have 2 board members there at all times, because that definitely helps with the discussion. And I don't know if we ever settled on that for this year, Vince, did we?
No, we have a number of
Yeah.
committees that we gotta look at.
So I looked at lunch, I looked at the staff development committee. Meet and Confer typically meets twice a year, maybe 3 times, usually for about an hour, hour and a half. Staff development committee, that's typically a monthly meeting. And then the district-wide health insurance, just for other board members, my recommendation, because I did some behind the scenes, I asked Teresa's on it right now, but Teresa's moving off, and I'd ask Andy if he would highly consider it because of some of his background, and then we would have him and Scott on that district-wide health insurance. And I don't want to say that it should be those 2, but Teresa said yes.
I circulated this to the
Oh,
board,
okay.
MTU.
Yep.
It's a list of all the committees with the ones that need replacing,
Replacing.
thinking, and
Okay.
all that. So we can go through that later, I guess. is what
Yeah. So, right now, for me, for sure, if we spend some time on the lunch committee, and I know for some people, some board members, they just say, it just doesn't fit into my schedule. That's just something I can't commit to, so,
Do you wanna do the committees now?
oh yeah,
Is
you're
that
right,
what
let's
you're
just do
saying,
them
or you-
all. Let's
yeah.
just do them all at the end.
Yeah.
So we'll come back to that one then at the end as we look at what's coming up on the schedule. And then with that, superintendent goals, I'll take it over the committee. Some of you have seen the discussion that the committee has had behind the scenes, unless the committee wants me to go through them, but,
Oh, Lisa.
No, I think, we're ready, we can go through them, we're ready to go through them.
okay.
Yeah, the, admin negotiations team spent the last kind of week and a half consolidating some goals, and that should be embedded in Tim's contract. He's got a, annual contractual goal linked to a financial payout. And, in the course of that, we probably went a little bit, we sort of grew the scope a little bit, I'll just say. And we came up with some goals that we would like to assign to the scope of work of, a couple of the committees, to strongly consider them. Within Tim's, the consensus for the goals for Tim for the 2015-2016 contract year, and we've already heard him talking about the first of them, is to establish a systemic approach for Vision 2025 with the assurance of longevity and integrating it into the district's management techniques, that it just becomes, we've had that first year, it's really critical, we feel like, to get through this second year in a way that just makes it an ongoing process, and that's not about a personality-driven piece. So that's the first goal. The second was to support the continued improvement at Hastings Middle School. We've seen a lot of change at the middle school over the last few years as we've moved fifth grade in, shifted the number of hours, changed the number of hours in the building, put in some math and, or at least reading supports, and now maybe some math and reading supports. We just wanna make sure that that's an ongoing priority in the district. That's just such a critical time in a student's life. And then the last one that the committee would recommend, and this links back really to World's Best Workforce, which comes out of the state of Minnesota, is strengthen that kindergarten readiness in District 200. And, you know, whatever the considerations need to be over the course of the year, there were certainly some legislative conversations last year about mandated 4-year-old preschool program. That did not happen at a legislative level, but really, how do we get kids ready to come into school? And let's give that some priority. So those are the three goals that we'd like to see, that the committee recommends for Tim's contract this year. To the side of that, some of the other things that our committee ended up discussing were the anticipation of a bond in the 2017 to 19 timeframe around facilities improvement. And we would like to task that work as a work element to the facilities committee to develop a project plan, just some timelines and scope of work, recognizing that might involve establishing a committee, facility committee of the community, similar to what was done, whatever year that was, 10 years
So you're
ago.
saying that wouldn't be a
It's not
goal?
inside of Tim's goals,
Yeah.
no, but it felt like it was a priority in the conversation about this school year.
Mhm.
But it's not really a superintendent goal, it feels
Yeah.
like a district goal, and we would like to see an element of the school board sort of oversee that
Mhm.
and give it eyes-on attention through the course of the year. And the second one, and this we would recommend for tasking oversight to the policy committee, is to develop and distribute a policy on cash and credit card usage and the associated authorization. And really a strong element of that, we feel like, is just getting a really clear organization chart. Who's working for who and who has what responsibility? Because I think this is such a team-oriented structure, and throughout the entire organization of the district, it's about, let's get this work done, you know, let's support these students, and that's terrific. But when it comes down to some of these more financial accountability pieces, I feel like a little bit of clarity would go a long way.
Yep.
But again, those two are not inside of Tim's goals, but we just felt in the course of our ongoing committee conversation that there are things that we would recommend from our committee that the school board pay attention to this year.
What have other districts done from the kindergarten readiness? Because I know it's, or because I assume we got a big part of this figuring out how do you reach out to the parents who maybe their maybe the kids aren't preschool, maybe they're at daycare preschool, or there's preschool scattered throughout the city. What have, so I guess I don't know where you start with that, but what have other districts done to kind of get involved with that?
That's part of what, we've got a committee established now this
Okay.
year.
Just to
and-
find that out.
And we're starting to analyze that.
Okay.
So we're in the beginning stages of looking out and then also looking in at what we can do internally. And that'll tie into that goal for me.
Yeah.
So I'd say that we're just in the first phases of connecting out to some of those schools. I know, for example, Angie McGinnis in a couple of weeks is gonna go visit Andy Catholich's school and see what they do with their 4-year-old program.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so
He's being a little shy. He's, at the direction of Tim, Laura Bolstad was working on a lot of this over the summer too. And Angie's got quite a book put together of things that she has gotten from Laura after surveying lots of schools in the area and working with our current kindergarten teachers to develop new assessment tools that can help with all that. So he's already got quite a bit of work being done by Angie. Laura Bolstead assisted with it, the other people. in the
Mary
department,
O'Brien, yeah. Lisa Grunstrom did some
the
work on it over the
assessment.
summer as well, but we're still, I'd say, yeah, we took a big hop, but now we're getting our feelers out there even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of the work to be done for this year. That's why we,
Yeah.
it's important and we feel like it should be done.
And I'm naive, I'm assuming we've basically just found that the kids aren't at certain levels in kindergarten where we think they should be.
No, I wouldn't jump to any.
No,
conclusions
Yeah.
I wouldn't
yet.
presume anything about.
This really came about because of, within the world's greatest workforce this last year.
Okay.
That became one of the 5 core areas that schools have to report back to the state of Minnesota on what are you doing. So
Oh,
then that's
okay.
when we started saying, well, what are we doing?
And how do we articulate it? How do we measure it? How do we articulate it?
But
Because that,
it doesn't mean that anybody's failing or that our current kids coming into kindergarten are behind in significant ways. They're
Okay.
actually just starting to look at some of the data, and it's not necessarily negative.
yeah, but that's what jump-started it, and then Governor Dayton, in this last legislative session with all of his talk on 4-year-old funding, then it jump-started it to a whole new, oh boy, if he's given it that
Yeah,
much of
because
a.
if this comes through, are we
Yeah.
ready?
And when I met with Angie and Mary O'Brien last week, just for an hour and just scratched the surface with them a little bit, they started talking about some of the initial reach outs that they've done. They're finding that parents, because this goes opposite of my thinking when I raised my own children, they're finding that parents are willing to have their 4-year-old in school all day long.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there thinking, that's not how Tammy and I approach it, so how dare anybody else look at it? But that's the reality of what's now starting, and I was shocked by that, of what they were starting to find out. I figured it would have been about like 70-30 the other way. But that's some of their initial, and the parents are willing to pay for it.
Mhm.
And that's what we found with kindergarten, when the state didn't fund kindergarten. We started small, and all of a sudden, 70% of our parents were paying for the other part of all-day kindergarten, so yeah, we're scratching the surface, but we're gonna start scratching really fast because of, the world's greatest workforce, and I think legislatively, Dayton didn't get it done necessarily what he wanted to get done, but he really planted the seed.
We
and
pushed it awfully far in
Yes.
1 year.
A lot of
We
discussion,
pushed it really far in 1 year.
so,
But, so that's the direction that we're going, and it certainly, once we get to the committee conversations, encourage each of those items to be in the charter work for those committees.
and I liked, I'll just say that I liked the committee, how you kept bouncing it back off of me. I like that rather.
Yeah, you didn't have to see all the dialogue. I tried
Yeah,
to pick
I didn't have to
intermittent-
see- no.
I tried to pick intermittent points.
But I liked how it,
Only them two at least.
every 3 days or something, you'd say, this is what we're thinking, Tim, what are you thinking? So that I didn't come here tonight and all of a sudden find out this is what we want you to do, which I would still do, but I really like that level of communication. I like the process, so that's what I'm saying.
I want to thank the committee. You did a lot of work on this, and it shows. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe it's good I didn't see some of the dialogue.
Probably not.
All turned out
And with
good.
that, then,
Sausage was made.
we're ready for the,
Ready for the action?
Yeah, the action items.
All right.
On
The
the,
first action item is the proposed maximum levy limitations and certification of the 2015 payable 2016 levy.
and I didn't speak about this in my email to you as board members. And the reason that I didn't is because every school district in the state of Minnesota will approve the maximum at this meeting. Because if you don't approve the maximum at this meeting, you can never approve you can always back it down. So I always recommend to board members at this meeting, you approve the maximum. Then at our work session, 2 weeks from now, Kim will join us and start going through some of the pluses and minuses. It does look, and Kim is still waiting for some numbers to come in finalized, et cetera, but it does look like we're gonna be around that 4.3 to 4.4% increase. And, I mean, if you average that out over the last 5 years, we've had some zeros, we've gone backwards. It's not bad when you average it out, but for tonight's purpose, I recommend that the board approve the maximum. Then in October, Kim will join us and start going through some of the numbers with us and tell you why that it's at the 4.5%. And then we work towards the December, where then that's when you make the final determination. So for tonight's purpose, I always recommend you approve the maximum for tonight.
We need somebody to make the motion.
I'll motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion on that motion? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote.
Andy Bertram,
Yes.
Dan Cater.
Yes.
Scott Gergen, Lisa Hadeen,
Yes.
Teresa Mose, yes, Vince O'Brien,
Yes.
Russ Roloff.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, motion to approve a resolution appointing the election judges for November 3rd.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
And a roll call vote again on this one?
Andy Bertram,
Yes.
Dan Cater,
Yes.
Scott Gergen, Lisa Hadeen,
Yes.
Teresa Mose, yes, Vince O'Brien,
Yes.
Russ Roloff.
Yes.
My mom was always an election judge, and I think those people do great work. Some of them a little longer than others, but great work.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list. It's the usual suspects that I want to sincerely thank,
Yeah.
though, because they do a lot of work.
Yeah. And next up, a motion to approve the participation of part-time teachers employed less than .8 in the TRA part-time mobility program.
As I said in an email to you, the individual, if they're not full-time, they have the right to contribute the remaining, their owed portion and the school district's portion. So some part-time staff do, some part-time don't, but it definitely helps them when they do retire because they'll get a stronger benefit amount. So we're recommending approval. It's not a cost to the district.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And we have 7 resignations.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resignations accepted. And then we have 4 leaves.
Make the motion to approve the leaves.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion to approve a lot of people for employment.
Doesn't actually all fit on one page.
Nice.
Have to shrink them.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And then a reassignment from a student assistant to an instructional assistant at the middle school, 4 to 6.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I wonder if you just want to describe the student assistant versus instructional assistant.
Student assistant.
This is a quiz
Student
for
assistant
it.
is like a playground aide. They're not
Okay.
actually doing any kind of instruction, they're
Yeah.
just basically supervising. An instructional assistant, like a paraprofessional that is working directly with students.
Got it. Thank you.
Deanna.
You're baking on
Do we have a motion, a second? on that?
Yep.
Okay, all those, any discussion, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. And some changes in FTE.
And just so new board members know, principals have to come to me whenever we're doing additions for FTEs, so it's not a system where you just get to say, yes, I need this. It does have to come across my desk, and some of them tie into the ALC and what happened there, so with leave there, so then we had to do some movement there. I guess no, not in this group, that doesn't necessarily, but all of them tie into some other leaves, some of them tie into enrollment, and then one of them ties into planning for the future, as well of leadership in that area, so I'm recommending all of them for approval.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next up is the dates for the high school student advisory luncheon. Have people had a chance to give this some thought, and we have 3 volunteers?
I'll do it.
Russ,
I'll volunteer.
Andy,
Yeah, I'm because I work across the street
Yeah,
from
you
the
and
high
I-
school,
You
so it's
didn't do
real.
it last year,
Yeah.
so you should.
No, but I've had so many opportunities to do it too. I like to
I
give
did
give
it every
others.
other year,
Okay. I mean,
Okay.
every-
I think you should.
because Scott did it
You're on
last
here.
year and he's the only one not here, so.
Yeah, and I did it last year too. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
available
Yeah.
midday, but.
okay, that's fun. So.
Teresa's planning on relaxing.
So where's
By the way,
everybody?
employee of the month.
We ended up with Andy, Russ, and
It's usually right at noon up at the high
Dan.
school. And
Right at noon.
you walk back by Mike Johnson's office, and there's a room right back in there.
Oh, okay.
Table about this big, we,
It's fun.
yeah,
2
And
representatives from each grade.
you never know what
And
question
ladies
you're gonna
chat.
get hit with from a kid.
True.
And some groups you have to dig it out a little bit, but other groups, they're more than willing to, and of course, it all depends on what's going on in the world and what's going on in their world at that time as well. But it's definitely a fun group to be a part of.
Yeah, school lunch seems to be the one constant at the first meeting.
School
Yeah.
lunch, and then eventually we'll talk about parking.
Yep.
and-
Yeah.
But it definitely is a
It's
key for the
definitely
board
an
members to
insight,
be
yeah.
at it, because the students want the discussion with the board members.
Yeah.
It's good to hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten some interesting feedback over the years on curriculum items and things, and, we pass on, what we, it's only if, a couple kids from each class or grade, but, it's interesting feedback.
Okay, so that committee's
Yeah.
done. How about meet and confer? That's a discussion between representatives of the school board and Education Minnesota with regards to non-contractual items. And it's been a good opportunity to have good communication with Education Minnesota. So I don't remember exactly who was on it last time.
Well, historically, it's funny, just way back, it was always the people that were in teacher negotiations. I didn't really like that much, and so then we started mixing it up, because then that group, because there's a lot of overlap between teacher negotiation group and the people that show up for meet and confer. It's not a one-for-one, obviously, but, so it's kind of nice to get them to meet other people on the board too, besides just the people they're arguing about on contract items, and they get to argue with those same people about non-contract items,
Or
So-
have a collaborative discussion.
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, it usually lasts about an hour and a half
Yeah.
or so, about three times a year.
About 3:30.
Yeah, after the McCullough, or I'm sorry, the last people that can get there, I think, are,
Yeah, it's in McCullough.
So it starts at about 4 then, yeah.
yeah. But we have it at McCullough, so,
Yeah, it's always very interesting.
yeah. Anybody volunteer for that one?
I'm willing to do it. That's a tough time of day for me, but if I know the dates ahead of time, I can work around the driving.
How much notice do you get? Or,
We try to work it out a few weeks in advance to pick a date that works for people.
throw me on.
I'll do it.
Okay.
I would like, I'll be your sub, Lisa.
Okay,
So that when you can't.
yes, we
can't
have
do
some
it-
continuity,
Yeah,
so Dan will be the sub guy.
yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah. And,
It is just nice to have a little.
Yep.
yeah. And then, the insurance committee's done.
Staff development.
Staff development, we need somebody on that.
You're staying on that, aren't you, Vince?
I actually haven't been on it for a while, but I'll go back
Kyle
on
was
it.
the other person listed.
I'll be happy to go back on it.
I really think you should, I mean, I think that you kinda
Yeah.
can set up the committees, but I really
Yeah.
recommend that you go back to it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go back to it. Yeah.
We have one or two?
Unless anybody else really want, no, one's
One.
fine. Yeah.
Just
Okay.
been one.
Anybody else want to? I don't wanna take anybody's, okay, I'm on.
I think you're well
And I
suited.
think that's it for the meeting. Overall, our committee structure would be more healthy if it coincided with the start and end of the school year. The problem is that our election cycles mean that we take office in January, so
Mhm.
I think we'll probably just leave it the way it is for now.
The only other one you had on here, we do have, Kyle was on a couple of things. Are we
Oh,
just
yeah.
policy? Or are we just gonna
Well,
write it
no,
out?
I think we should probably have somebody on policy, cause that's pretty important. We can get by with leaving licensed staff alone, classified alone, although Scott, I think, volunteered to get on those.
Yeah, I was gonna
but-
say, he volunteered for classified.
But the policy committee is somewhat significant, so people can email me afterwards too and let me know if they're interested in that.
The policy committee doesn't meet regularly, but we might now that it's one of the,
Yeah, now that they have a specific
And-
task, so then you meet
and we do have one.
frequently and then you don't.
Yeah,
You
we have
meet
one or
frequently
two
and then
things
you
coming
don't.
up after today's meeting where we will be looking at a policy.
Yeah, you can email me afterwards if anybody wants to. I'll remind you if I don't hear anything. Okay.
It's a great committee. I've been on that before, and that's another one I think others should get a chance to get into all sorts of issues. It's
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah, today Deanna and I were reading an MSBA policy and we're like, okay, that doesn't really, because usually we go
suit
by
us.
MSBA policies, as
Mhm.
you know, and I say, hey, just stamp it. This MSBA policy did not match with what we're doing, so we'll definitely be looking at that one too.
Okay.
Yeah, and the one we tabled the last meeting. I have yet to find anyone that likes it, so. As of right now, I consider it kind of a waste of paper being in the policy manual, but that's another one for the policy.
Committee to look at,
committee,
yeah.
to look at, yeah.
Okay, next 3 meeting dates are the 7th.
Did you pick someone for policy?
Not
You're
yet.
gonna-
We're gonna
He's
get
gonna email
emails
us.
afterwards and then see if we can see what it's gonna be. So the 7th and 21st and the high school lunch is on the 20th. All that being said, any additional business? We have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you very much.
Oh, did you wanna tell us about the handouts?
No, they're just from the high school. If you wanna vote as quickly as Dan did on the delegate assembly and get it back to me, you can. Otherwise,
I really,
Which was the person you needed?
from the.
Kathy Lewis.
Okay, we'll do that one.
Okay, I knew you said Kathy, and then I didn't hear the last name, so I
Yep.
couldn't correspond. Okay.
Yeah, she's, I said I was on 917 with her, and there was not a subcommittee or graduation ceremony
That she
or.
missed.
Right, exactly. She,
Hard work.
yeah, very hard worker.
And just so you know, I'll have Deanna drop the variances in the Dropbox for you, and I'll bring the hard copy. This is the variances for the 2000